गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming today. Today we'll be discussing on the topic of from Anartha Nivritti to Artha Pravritti. So let's begin with this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll explain the meaning of the verse and then we'll recite it. So Bhidyate. Bhidyate means to cut off. Bhidyate Hridaya Granthish. That the knot in the heart of attachment, that is cut off. Bhidyate Hridaya Granthish. Chidyante. Chidyante means to again destroy, cut off or destroy. Sarva samshayaha. The doubts in the heart are all destroyed. Chidyante sarva samshayaha. Kshiyante. Kshiyante means to stop. Cha asya karmani. Karmani is self-motivated action, self-centered or selfish action. Action that binds us. So that action stops. Kshiyante chasya karmani. Drishta. Drishta means thereafter to see. But one certainly sees Atmani Ishvare. One sees within the heart, the Lord is always present. The Lord is not far away. The Lord is right next to us in our heart. Within our us is not far away. Atmani Ishvare. दृष्टैवात्मनीश्वरे विद्यते हृदय ग्रंथि छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्टैवात्मनीश्वरे. Let us all recite together 3 times. Together. Vidyate hridaya granthi, छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशया, क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि, दृष्टैवात्मनीश्वरे. विद्यते हृदय ग्रन्थि, छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशया, क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि, दृष्टैवात्मनीश्वरे. विद्यते हृदय ग्रन्थि, छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशया, क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि, दृष्टैवात्मनीश्वरे. Last time. विद्यते हृदय ग्रन्थि, छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशया, क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि, दृष्टैवात्मनीश्वरे. Thank you. So let's begin by broadly discussing terms. So I'd like to ask you, what does the term anartha mean to you? We are discussing the topic from anartha nivritti to artha pravritti. So what does anartha mean to you? Any suggestions? Anartha. Unwanted things. Okay.
Artha could mean desirable, so artha means that it's not desirable.
Okay, artha is desirable, anartha is undesirable. Yes. Anything else? Anartha?
Contamination.
Sorry? Offenses can be anarthas. Okay, they're one kind of anarthas, you can say. Contamination is one word, one description of it. Anything else? Sorry? Bad qualities, yes. So anarthas are bad qualities. Anything else?
Impurities.
Impurity. So contamination and impurities are similar. Now, okay, you could list anarthas, the six vices we could say: lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and what is the last one? Illusion. Yeah. So ignoring Krishna. So anartha could be ignoring Krishna. That is the ultimate ignorance of Krishna, forgetfulness of Krishna. That is anartha. True. So thank you. All these answers are good. Let's try to look at the word artha. You already told the meanings. What are the various meanings of the word artha?
Objective.
Artha is objective or purpose. Like we have the four purusharthas in life. Which are the four purusharthas? Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Yes. So artha is a purpose or objective. Any other meanings? Artha is value. Value could also have wealth. Well, let's keep them separate. Like we have in India, we have the Artha Mantri. We don't have an Artha Mantri. Of course, sometimes the Artha Mantri may do a lot of anartha also. The finance minister may do a lot of malfeasance and malpractices. But value or wealth. And then one meaning which you already mentioned, right in the beginning. Artha. Artha is yes. Artha, iska artha kya hai? Meaning. So the word artha itself has artha ke anek artha hai. The word artha itself has many different meanings. Now, if you look at these meanings, there is an underlying commonality to it. In general, if you look at life, we all want, everybody needs wealth in life. That is required. Then wealth is one indicator of value. We want money, but we want things of value in our life. Sometimes we may spend a lot of money and buy something, but we find it doesn't have much value. We buy an expensive device and it doesn't work. So we don't just want wealth, we want value. And if we consider beyond that, ultimately we want meaning and purpose in our life. Isn't it? So making money is important, but what we are making with money is even more important. There are so many people who might win a lottery, but after winning the lottery, they win a lottery, they win a lot of money, but then they lose their life. They squander money, they become very self-centered, they become very suspicious or dismissive of others. Day before yesterday, I was talking with one devotee. He's a specialist in bariatric surgery. Bariatric surgery is basically where somebody has a lot of weight and the people operate and seal the stomach. And so that they lose weight. People can lose weight miraculously by that. It appears like a miracle. But one of the things that happens, especially in the Western world, is that as soon as people do bariatric surgery, this is almost like 70 to 80%, depending on which statistics we consider trustworthy, that's followed by divorce. Why? People think I'm more attractive, I can be with a better person. So it's like you can get something of value, but in getting something of value, we may devalue other things in our life. So in our Vedic tradition, the word artha, before we go towards anartha, our topic is from anartha nivritti to artha pravritti. So in our tradition, artha is considered to be a progression. There are many arthas in life, and then there is the paramartha. Paramartha is that which is of supreme value, that which is supremely meaningful, that which is the supreme wealth. So, for example, when we talk about the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama. Now, Artha is money, Kama is satisfaction of desires. And these are also considered valuable goals. This idea of a progression of Artha. This is something similar to what in Western psychology that there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, for example, if somebody doesn't have food or water, then that is the most important thing in their life. Somebody may have $1 million check, but if they don't have food and they're about to die, they may be willing to give them $1 million to just get some food. So food is the most valuable thing for them. So similarly, there can be a hierarchy of things of value for a person. Now, but so somebody doesn't have food, food is most important. But once a person gets food, okay, starvation or malnutrition problem in the world. Some people say that is the biggest problem. But okay, those who are not having enough food are unhappy. But are all the people who are having enough food happy? No. So there are two things over here. One is when we want to grow in our life, it is we need to value whatever is the artha for a person at that particular point. Value artha at that time. I'll talk about how this is talked about in Shastra also. But then value the paramarth. That means don't mistake, don't equate or mistake present artha with paramarth. So what is of present value should not be seen as of permanent value. Now, why is this whole thing important? So something is of present value and equating it with something of permanent value. So this is a mistake. We don't want to equate it. So the idea is that everybody is growing gradually in their lives. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, "Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam." That don't disturb people's minds. It's a very striking verse what Krishna is telling. So I'm giving a background here to discuss what anartha nivritti means, and then how we can move towards artha pravritti from anartha nivritti. So we are trying to understand the concept first of artha and anartha. So let's look at what Krishna says in 3:26 in the Bhagavad Gita. Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanghina. So Krishna is saying there are two levels of people. There are one level is ajnanam. What does ajnanam mean? Ignorant. Okay. And then na buddhi bhedam ajnanam karma sanghina. So ignorant. What is karma sanginam? Sorry? Yes, they're attached. So there are, can you see all this? Okay. Now, and the second level he says, Na buddhibhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yuktah samachara. So vidwan, what does vidwan mean? Learned, wise. So this is the opposite of ignorant. And yuktaha. Yuktaha is connected. Yuktaha is a variant of the word yoga. In fact, among all the words in the Bhagavad Gita, the one word that comes the most is yoga. Yoga, yogi, yukta. They are all variants of the same word. That is the word that comes the most. So now Krishna is saying, say there's one person over here. And there's one person over here. So Krishna is saying, don't disturb those who are here. So disturb means if this person is over here, if we try to, the instruction that we give to them, whatever instruction we are giving, if that instruction is to get that person to jump from here to here, that we want them to rise up, but we try to get them to take a long leap. What happens is they may not rise, they may just go down first, because it might be too big a leap for them. So the instruction may be well intended, but that instruction may not work. So what does it is? Joshayet sarva karmani. Now what does Joshayet sarva karmani means? And what Krishna is saying is, from where they are, create gradual steps for them to rise upwards. Gradual, incremental steps. Joshayet sarva karmani. So now here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes a very important point in the Chaitanya Shikshamrita. He says that sadhakas often have a tendency, devotees, he says bhaktas, sadhakas especially, they can have a mayavadi tendency, a mayavadi view of the material. What does he mean by mayavadi view of the material? See, sometimes we have the idea, say this is spiritual and this is material. And the idea is that we want to give up the spiritual and go to the material. Is that right? What do you want to do? Want to give up the material and go to the spiritual. So he says, while this is in principle true, but what is the Mayavadi idea over here? He says that actually speaking, when we consider the spiritual, this is the spiritual, but within the material, there is sattva, there is rajas, and there is tamas. And all three are not the same. And in fact, you may say, yeah, sattva is good, but rajas and tamas has to be given. And that is true to some level. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye. That raja and tama are to be given up. And it's true. But he says that even rajas and tamas should not be equated. Because for many people, rajas can be an antidote for tamas. So he says antidote. What does the word antidote mean? Sorry? Cure, but it's a specific kind of cure. Sorry?
Versus the poison.
Yes, antidote is not a tonic. Antidote is specifically what? It's not an antibiotic. It is a cure for. Yeah, can repeat that, what you said.
Reverses the poison.
It reverses the effect of poison. Say somebody has got a snake bite, then you have an antidote which counters the snake bite. So what he says is tamas is like poison. And he says rajas can be the antidote for the toxicity of tamas. Now, of course, ultimately, a devotee has to go beyond tamas and rajas. But he says within the material, everything is not the same. So I'll explain what I mean by this. That, say, if we consider the activity of parenting, we can have parents who are in sattva, parents who are in rajas, and parents who are in tamas. Now, say parents who are in sattva, they may want to make sure that their children grow with proper values. And they may be spiritual. Even if they're not spiritual, they have they want to give good values, honesty, discipline, responsibility, respect of boundaries. So basically, whatever will help the child to develop character, whether the child will become a good person in the future. That means sattva guna. Then rajoguna, the parents may be very obsessed with money and stature and material well-being. So now, from the perspective of sattva, rajas is not very good. But if you consider rajasic parents as contrasted with tamasic parents, tamasic parents might be somebody who's a parent and that person is so stoned on drugs that they don't even know that they have a child. In California, they passed a rule that it happened that there were some children, small children, they are in the back seat in the car. So it happened on a few occasions that the parents they forgot their baby in the back seat and just went away. And then somebody found it and the baby was really suffocating and then they saved. So now they said that in all cars we should have a sensor. By way, is it here also the rule here? New cars, it is here also. Okay. That now that if the baby is in the car and nobody else is in the car, and you lock the car basically, if somebody is occupying the car seat, then that car will either not rock or it will have a big sensor alarm. Now, the parents who forget their children in the car should forget the idea of having a children. You know, this is tamasic. How can you forget a child? So the idea is that between Rajasic and Tamasic, there's a huge difference. A Rajasic parent, if their child is sick, they may move earth and heaven to try to heal their child. If the child needs having some terrible sickness, some fatal some dangerous sickness, then they may take loans, they may do this, they may do that. They may even lay down the right to donate their organs or whatever is required. So now we may call it material attachment, but there is a huge difference. Now, can a parent who is ready to give their organ to save their child and a parent who forgets that they have a child, can we equate them to? Neither of them may have spiritual consciousness. But still, there is a huge difference. So basically, the point he's making is that for somebody who's in Tamoguna, even Rajoguna can be an artha. And it is a step forward. It is a step forward from Tamoguna to Rajoguna. Similarly, from Rajoguna towards Sattvaguna is a step forward. So artha is a hierarchical process. It's an incremental process. And that's why what Krishna is telling is, when we are going to talk about anartha nivritti, what it means is that we all have certain ideas of what is artha for us. So for me, if for example, the artha for me might be, say, how many people attend my class, how many people appreciate my class. Now that might be one artha for me. Another artha for me might be that I'm not studying for I'm not studying or teaching shastra just so that I can get popularity. I want to become purified. I want to connect with Krishna, and I want to connect others with Krishna. That might be another artha in my life. So we may have different senses of value in our life. Now, some of the ideas of value, of what we value, may be completely off. They completely off. That means they say in Russia, when there was a anti-alcohol campaign, there was an ad that was made. So this ad was, there is a family and the whole family is watching TV. The father has a bottle of vodka in his hands, and the news is that the prices of vodka have shot up. So then the son is little timidly asking his father, "Dad, will you drink less now?" And the father says, "No, you will eat less now." Now, what a horrifying distortion of values. That my drinking is more important than your eating of food. So that is an anartha which needs to be rejected. So basically, when we talk about anartha nivritti, so essentially what is anartha? Anartha means it is a misperception of value. That which is not of value, we think it to be of value. Or that which is less valuable, we think it to be more valuable. It's a misperception of value. Misperception of value can be in two ways. That which has no value, or we think of it as great value, or that which has less value, we think of it as of more value. There's a difference between these two, and I'll explain the difference. But anartha essentially means anything that causes a misperception of value within us. So, like in alcoholism, oh, what is the value of alcoholism as compared to, say, the food for one's family? It's a something just practically of no value. One is thinking of that to be of great value. Now, if you consider this fundamental understanding of anartha, then we say consider lust or anger or greed. All of these cause a misperception of value, isn't it? So, whenever there is anger, what happens at anger? In anger, putting the other person in that place, proving that I am right, overpowering the other person, that becomes the most important thing as compared to maybe the feelings of the person, maybe the health of the relationship, maybe even the perception or the reputation that we may have among others, the short tempered person. There could be so many other things of value. So, any anartha, what it does is it leads to a what we call as anartha, it leads to a misperception of value. So, when there is anger, power becomes much more important than the relationship. Exerting my power at that particular point, that becomes much more important than the steadiness of the relationship. So similarly, if we consider greed, even there is greed, for example, then money may become much more important than, again, it could be relationship, it could be character, could be so many other things. Like we say, penny wise, pound foolish. Somebody may get some money at that particular time, but they may actually end up, people may no longer trust them after that. They betray someone, they backstab someone, afterward nobody trusts them. So anartha basically means a misperception of value. And from the ultimate perspective, anartha is basically the ultimate anartha is there is Krishna and then there is Krishnetara. Krishnetara is anything other than Krishna. And when we consider that anything other than Krishna is more valuable than Krishna, that is the ultimate anartha. Rite artham yat pratiyeta na pratiyechatme tam vidyadatmano maya yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. In the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, it is said that to see anything to be of value as separate from Krishna, that is Maya. That is essentially anartha. So anartha means that which has less artha, we think of it as having a much more artha, or that which has no artha, we think of it having as most great artha. So misperception of value. And in essence, purification. Purification means that basically what is valuable starts agreeing with what feels valuable. What is valuable and what feels valuable, the two become more and more aligned with each other. Any kind of impurity is there, then what is valuable and what feels valuable, there is a disagreement between the two. So if somebody is, say, attached to watching TV, then some people, maybe nowadays there's social media addiction. So then what happens is, I saw one cartoon where a person is telling his friend, yesterday my broadband Wi-Fi went down. So I spent some time with my family. They seem to be like nice people. So what happens is that basically, maybe knowing what is happening in Serbia, becomes more important than what is happening in our spouse's mind. We just get completely disconnected. So what feels valuable and what is valuable? There is a misalignment between that. Basically, so if you say attachment and addiction, we can say. So basically, when addiction is there, there's almost like major, not some overlap, but there's a major separation in what feels valuable and what is valuable. And then when we talk about purification, purification means that these two circles start becoming more and more identical. And then when we are fully pure, then these two circles basically become identical. So purification, when somebody is completely pure, then it is not that they have to make an intellectually persuade themselves that Krishna is more important than the pleasures of this world. Now, naturally, they're convinced that Krishna is the most important thing. That's why in the verses that we recite before the Bhagavatam class or generally, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Now, Prabhupada translates Naishtiki as Bhakti becomes an irrevocable fact. Irrevocable fact. So the idea is what? That when the anarthas have gone, then we understand, we become fully convinced that Krishna is the supreme value. Before that, we may still appreciate Krishna, but it's like Krishna is nice, but Maya is also not all that bad. It is that polarity that goes on in our mind. So essentially, before anartha nivritti, when we still have some anarthas in our life, our faith is like a banana tree. After anartha nivritti, our faith becomes like a banyan tree. So from a banana tree to a banyan tree. So anartha nivritti. So our devotion, our faith, whatever. Now, what is the characteristic of a banana tree? Sorry?
It can be bent.
It can be bent, it can be shaken, it can be broken, isn't it? But what are the characteristics of a banyan tree? It is strong. It has so many roots that it cannot be shaken. It can be shaken a little bit, but it will never be broken. It is extremely difficult to destroy it. So now this is the journey we want to go on. So now anartha nivritti and artha pravritti. Anartha nivritti means that which is of low or no value. Nivritti means we become indifferent toward that, we become detached from that. And artha pravritti means that which is of value, we become attracted toward that. We become inspired. We become naturally propelled towards that. So that is the journey we want to go from anartha nivritti to artha pravritti. So from that which has less value or no value, but we have attraction toward that right now. We have attachment toward that. And that which is of high value, we don't have attraction toward that. So how do we go on that journey? That is the question. So I'll talk about two broad things. Now these anarthas have been analyzed in different ways by different acharyas or different scriptures. So for example, anarthas may be considered 6 anarthas: lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion. In the Madhurya Kadambini, there are 6 stages of anartha nivritti. And then Vyuda Vikalpa, Vishaya Sangra, Utsahamai. There are different ways of analyzing. Now, I don't want to get too much into technicalities of various kinds of analysis. We have to focus on this principle. And then we will try to understand how to move from anartha nivritti to artha pravritti. So basically, there are many places in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Mai arpita mano buddhir mam evaishyasya asamshayaha. So basically, if we consider the soul in its perception has two resources. So if this is the soul and the outer world, the soul has two main resources for functioning in the world: the intelligence and the mind. And broadly speaking, the mind is vulnerable to desires, and the intelligence is vulnerable to doubts. Basically, desires and doubts are two main obstacles on the spiritual path. The verse that we recited just now, Vidyate Hridaya Granthis, Chidyante Sarva Samshaya. So Hridaya Granthi is the attachment, that is the desires. The desires in the mind and the doubts in the intelligence. These two can obstruct us. So now these are two different kinds of obstacles. They're not this, they're similar, but still they are different. So if we are seekers and say here there is Krishna. Krishna is not impersonal, but my drawing is impersonal. So now when we have desires, what this means is that there may be various things which appear attractive. So on the path to Krishna, these are other things which are desires. So desires, they basically take us away from Krishna. And Krishna also talks about Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam Taya Apaharita Chetasam. Their consciousness becomes abducted. So desires take us away from the path to Krishna. On the other hand, what doubts do is, doubts, they become like bridges, or not bridges, barriers. So basically doubts, is the red color visible? Okay. That is Krishna real? Is Krishna really great? Is Krishna consciousness really enjoyable? There could be many questions like that. So it is basically, if we consider this path, we have to climb up. It's like an incline to go toward Krishna. So is it really worth climbing up? Say if you have to go up a mountain, say, okay, we are told there's a very beautiful view from the top of the mountain. Say, hey, the view over there also looks nice. Okay, I don't need to go there. View over there also looks nice. There are other nice views also. And then we think, okay, is the view up there really that great? Maybe it's not worth it. So desires pull us in other directions, and doubts make us, they deter us. They slow us down by making us think, is this really worth it? So other things are worth it. So both are anarthas. So desires, they make us think other things are of greater earth. And doubt makes us think, is this really the Paramartha? Maybe, maybe not. We can have various kinds of doubts. So desires and doubts. So in terms of anartha nivritti, what we want to do is desires, other things, we think they are artha. And doubts, Krishna is not the Paramartha. Maybe Krishna is important, but not all that important. There are various reasons. It can range from Krishna doesn't even exist, or Krishna doesn't matter. Krishna doesn't matter all that much, whatever it might be. So there are desires and doubts. And when we want to move up the mountain, so we need to deal with desires and we need to deal with doubts. So when Krishna says, Mai arpita mano buddhir, what it means is if you want to offer our mind and intelligence to Krishna, then the desires for other things need to be removed. And the doubts about Krishna, they need to be removed. And when both of these are removed, then we can offer our mind and intelligence to Krishna, and thereby we can offer our entire being to Krishna. Another way to look at this is that we all have an emotional faculty side and we have a rational side. Now, in neuroscience, they talk about the brain polarity, that there is the right brain and the left brain. Now some neuroscientists say that it's not that simple. That one part of the brain is related with this, another part of the brain is related with this. It may not be in terms of regional division, but there's definitely a functional demarcation like that. Some people are more rational, some people are more emotional. But the idea is both the rational and the emotional faculties, both need to be directed towards and invested in Krishna. And both of them can be directed away from Krishna. So this is the journey towards Krishna through desires and through doubts. So this was actually the introduction to the class. So I was planning to talk today about desires and tomorrow about doubts. But I would like to stop over here and first ask how many of you have any questions at this point? So tomorrow I could talk about desires and doubts both, or I can talk about one of them today. But at this point, about what we have discussed till now, does anyone have any questions, or how many of you have questions? Okay, no burning questions. No. If there are half raised hands, that's not a burning question. Okay. Okay. So maybe we'll see. 5-10 minutes we'll have questions, and if there is a lot of elaboration on this, then I'll take both in tomorrow's session. Or otherwise, we'll move forward. Yes.
You said.
Okay, so basically, the doubts and desires, when they go away, automatically selfish desires they disappear. Because karma is external. So basically, why would we do something that is self-centered and not Krishna-centered? It is only when we think that something will serve my interest other than Krishna, and Krishna will not serve my interest. What Prahlad Maharaj tells Narasimha Dev is Nate viduhu swartha gatim vishnu. That our self-interest will ultimately be served by Krishna. In serving Krishna and loving Krishna. Okay. Can I have some water, please? I don't think anything is very nice. Is there good? Some warm water if possible. Yeah, please.
You said no value. That which is of no value, we think it has great value, and that which is of less value, we think of more value.
Okay, so what does it mean? The two difference between no value and like something is tamasic, that is practically no value, but we think it to be of great value. But on the other hand, there is also something which is of hey, somebody may think that okay, I have to earn money, and maybe earning money is more important than spending time with my children. Well, earning money is not an unimportant thing. Or somebody may say, okay, I have to go for this activity, that activity, so I can't come to the temple. Now, maybe that activity is important. Maybe when coming to the temple is more important. So it's not that the other thing is completely valueless, but something which is of what is of the other thing is valuable, but this is more valuable. So at that time, anathas can cause a misperception. Okay. Yes. Param Artha is the supreme Artha. So Paramartha is ultimately it is spirituality, transcendence, Krishna. Like Dharma, Artha, Kama, and sometimes somebody renounces the world, or somebody becomes more spiritual, and say you are pursuing the Paramartha. This person, so that which is of supreme value, that is Krishna. Okay. So yeah.
Would the desire and doubt not ultimately arise because of the doubt itself? Because the ignorance is the real reason for bondage.
Sorry?
The ignorance is the real reason for bondage, and Bhagavatam is talking about Bhagavatam. So if I get that Purigyan, then I sleep. So would it be appropriate to say that if one is free from doubts, then automatically he knows what to desire for.
Well, you can always find verses for other way also. Krishna says, Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So the priti is there, then Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam. So if the desire is there, doubt will glow. That Krishna also in the next verse, that even if you just serve me, then I jnana dipena bhasvata. I will destroy the ignorance. So we could go either way. So if we have the desire, the doubt will go. If we get rid of the doubt, the desires will go. So both are possible. It's the important thing is that these are two broad things. Okay. So let's move forward. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you for elaborately explaining about doubts. So I had heard in other classes that offense is what we made that comes under another. So will that offenses comes under this desires?
It depends. Like I said, there are different ways of classifying things. The fundamental principle of offense is that which is spiritual we consider it to be material. That which is of great value, that which is transcendental, we consider to be mundane. So, for example, to consider the deity to be a stone, that is an offense. So, to consider somebody who is actually spiritually motivated. Generally, our mentality is that if somebody criticizes us, we think this person is my ill wisher, this person is envious of me. It could be that, but it could also be that that person is actually our well wisher and we are not understanding it. So basically, it's a misperception. Now, does and offenses occur when we misperceive things? Now, is that misperception due to our desires, due to our doubts? It could be either things. So there are different systems of classification. I am focusing on one particular system over here. Now, can the aparad arise because of desire or doubt? It could be either way. It could be that I already have doubts about some person, and then that person does something, some strong disciplinary action they take against me, and then I completely reject them. I become offensive towards them. Or it could be that I have some strong desires for doing some things, and then that person stops me from doing that, and then I start becoming disrespectful. That's when offense occurs. So where it may occur, it could be kind of associated with desire or doubt, either of them. Thank you. Yes.
So just to clarify, so you mentioned that one of the so between like tamasic, which is no value, but that person doesn't have the conception of value. So for them it is great value. But for somebody that has the conception of value, something they cannot tell which is of more value, spending time with family or with earning money. So for them something that is less value could like they are weighing their options. But for somebody who doesn't have a conception of value, they think that whatever they are doing is great.
Yeah, that is true. So see, basically, within their conception of what is of what their conception of what is valuable, we have to somehow bring in something of higher value. Like when Prabhupada, when he was talking with people in the counterculture, they wanted to go high and they wanted to take drugs to go high. Now, Prabhupada did not condemn their desire to go high, it's all just illusion. He says, you can go high and stay high forever. So when Narad Muni, when Brugari was told by Narad Muni, you're killing, why are you killing half? Kill them fully. He says, killing may be what is your profession, but killing half, that is where you're causing unnecessary pain, and that is terrible. So basically, we cannot, we will not make sense to people unless what we speak makes sense within their frame of reference. So within what they consider valuable, we need to be able to present something. So for example, say if somebody asks us, okay, why don't you eat meat? And if we reply, meat eating is one of the 4 pillars of sinful life. Anybody who eats meat will go to hell. And say we tell this to some colleague in office or some friend in college or school, they'll say, "You go to hell right now," isn't it? They will not care. So now the idea of meat eating, we want to convey, but we may say something from their frame of reference. Right? When I came to know about how much violence is involved in making meat, how much the animals are subjected to terrible pain, I felt I didn't want to be a part of it. Or when I came to know that meat has several harmful effects on health, and the same nutritional needs can be taken care of and getting care of better by vegetarian food, then I chose towards this. But that may not be the only reason, that may not even be the primary reason. But basically, we need to be able to, when we communicate, so it's like this is the person's conception of value, and say this is our conception of value. This is the audience, and this is the speaker. So if there is no link between the two, then the class will be completely ineffective. Nothing will land on the person. It'll literally, the class will be like Padma Patramivambasa. The water comes and they will be like the lotus petal, the water will come and slip away. Nothing will touch them. So what we need to do is, our conception of value somehow has to intersect with their conception of value. So Prabhupada said, what is speaking with realization mean? It means he says, speak the scriptural message, but speak it in a way that is interesting for the audience. So this is their interests. Interest essentially is another way of saying their conception of value. So, for example, for all of us, we may want to give up laziness, we may want to give up particular desires, but unless we hear something which makes sense within our frame of reference, our conception of value, it will not have an impact on us. Okay, thank you. So, okay, last question.
When you talk about intelligence which creates
water has come. Somebody's gone to get the water? Yes. Okay, yeah.
When you spoke about intelligence creating doubt, how do we understand the most of material nature has that impact on those doubts? Like, if somebody is in the mode of goodness, can we feel that he or she not have those doubts, or even in reaching those modes, the doubts that arise?
Okay, see, in general, there are different frames of reference for analyzing things, and different frames of reference may not necessarily intersect. They can overlap in some ways. Say, for example, Ayurveda has a particular way of analyzing how the body functions, the kapha, vata, pitta, and the balance. Now, allopathy has a different way of analyzing. Homeopathy has a different way of analyzing. The purpose is the health only, but there are different ways of analyzing. So now when you talk about the modes is a frame of analyzing. Now within each mode, that's okay, there can be a particular concept, a particular set of desires, and a particular set of doubts. In Sattva Guna, there can be a different set of doubts. There can be a different set of desires. So, because the mind and the intelligence, they are there in every place. It's a Rajasic person also, they have intelligence. Maybe they don't have spiritual intelligence, but even to work and succeed in the material world, it definitely requires intelligence. So, if somebody has earned a lot of wealth, they have intelligence. And based on their particular set of experience, they may have particular set of doubts. So the modes they may shape what kind of doubts and what kind of desires we may have. So for example, somebody may be in Rajoguna For them, material desires, once the material desires are dealt with, or once they understand, because material world is not substantial, they just naturally take up Krishna Bhakti. If they are introduced to spirituality, they may take up Krishna Bhakti. But somebody Satvaguna, maybe they have read a lot of books on philosophy. There are different philosophers. And even for them, it may not be required that, oh, material desires are to be given up. They may understand that all the glitters is not gold. But then they may require persuasion. Okay, yeah, there is something more than material. But how do you know that what is being taught in the Bhagavad Gita? And this particular tradition is what is written. It might be in some other tradition. Or so they may have a different set of obstacles. Okay, thank you. So, yes.
Please accept my own notice. Sorry, I'm just going to the essence because the time is so short, your association is so. So, there is a verse in Bhagavatam which says that real purification happens very quickly the more when one becomes ecstatic in bhakti. By the influence of sadhu sangha, when one becomes ecstatic in bhakti or very kind of when bhakti becomes very intense, if you read about yoga, then actually it happens. So the relation between like as a I as a very infinitesimal source to elicit that kind of experience, that kind of to be able to do that intense bhakti. I mean, in one sense, that intense bhakti happens normally at a higher stage. I mean, in one sense. But at the same time, it also mentioned Bhagavatam is to come out of this bondage. The only way is one becomes very like last Srila Gauravan says, unless one has a love for Guru and Krishna, it is not possible to cut off one's bondage. So, like tying together these points, could you enlighten on
See, ultimately, Artha Pravritti is connection with Krishna or attraction towards Krishna. So once we have attraction towards Krishna, then naturally we become bhakti pareshanu bhave rakti ragasrasya. We need to we go away from this. Now, what is the essence? In scripture, there are many different places, different things are talked about. So it's like Krishna is like an unlimited reality. And one person may approach Krishna from here, one person may approach Krishna from here, one person may approach Krishna from here, one person may approach Krishna from here. So for some people, the attraction to Krishna could be primarily through their personal relationship with their Guru. Now that is definitely emphasized in Shastra. For example, there was like Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasado and other things. Many verses like that. At the same time, we also see that Prabhupada himself, he was dedicated to his Guru. But how much did Prabhupada talk about his Guru? Prabhupada didn't tell many pastimes about his Guru, just a few interactions which he had with his spiritual master. Prabhupada was a philosophic-centered person. It is not just pastimes about his Guru, even Krishna pastimes. Prabhupada did not tell much. He would tell a few pastimes. Prabhupada was not a kathakar in the traditional sense of the word. So was Prabhupada's connection with the Guru there? Definitely there. But was that the primary content of his speech? No. See, among Prabhupada disciples, some we may say they speak a lot about Prabhupada. And all their classes are filled with their interaction with Prabhupada, their pastimes with Prabhupada. It's wonderful. But now there are others who may not talk so much about Prabhupada. But their lives may be more devoted to Prabhupada, isn't it? So my point is that so that you could say the holy name. That is the connection with Krishna. Hare Nama Ekyam. Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is also a verse which says the holy name in Kali Yuga is so powerful that even if one doesn't have a guru, still one can get connected with Krishna. So now somebody may say that the Dham, right? Now Vrindavan Dham or Mayapur Dham, they are so powerful that if one just leaves their body over there, one may have not practiced bhakti seriously also. Just leave their body over there. they'll get elevated, they'll get liberated. There are many limbs of bhakti, and my understanding is that such statements are definitely true, but are they universally true for every individual in terms of their lived experience? Maybe, maybe not. Krishna cannot be limited to one channel. Some devotees may experience Krishna primarily through the worship of the deities. Now, they may remember their guru when they worship the deity, but their connection will be with the deities primarily. For some devotees, their connection may be primarily through Shastra. Chakravarti Pad, he writes that song, Yasya Prasad Bhagavad Prasadam. But in his Bhagavatam commentary, he practically never refers to his guru. Just in the first chapter, he seeks the blessings of his guru, but he's not repeatedly referring to his guru. So his connection is Shastra, is a Rasikacharya. So Krishna may open himself or open the access to himself in many different ways. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nimeshayet. So, is the spiritual master important? Extremely important. But what does that mean? Say, if we were introduced to bhakti when the spiritual master had just started initiating, we get a lot of association with the spiritual master. Afterwards, we don't get much association. And how do we develop our relationship with the spiritual master? So, is it our fortune depend on the chronology of when we came to bhakti? It's not that simple. So, we could say the spiritual master is not just a person, it's a principle. We try to develop a personal relationship. But the point is that we should not feel that we are lacking what we need for connecting with Krishna. Of course, we are lacking, but Krishna will provide us what we need. So, is faith in the Guru important? Of course, it is important. But if a person doesn't have much opportunity to associate with the Guru, and then maybe they can hear and develop faith, but then it may be that they may engage in bhakti, and their faith may come from somewhere else. So I would be very hesitant to reduce bhakti to one limb of bhakti. It's a relationship with Krishna. And whichever limb we talk about, we can find verses supporting that. The Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. And if somebody just studies the Bhagavatam, they will get elevated and liberated. So every limb of bhakti is important. And we don't have to see that, okay, I'm not valuing my guru. It is by my guru's mercy that I have taste for Bhagavad. It is by my guru's mercy that I have taste for the deity. That is true. But that does not mean that the guru will be prominently in the consciousness of the disciple. It could be that the Bhagavatam is much more prominent in the consciousness of the disciple. And that's perfectly fine. So in Baldev Vidyabhushan's Govinda Bhashya, which is a Vedanta Sutra commentary, he says that Krishna can manifest himself in different ways to different devotees. And whichever way Krishna manifests himself, a devotee should appreciate that. Bhagavatam is tattat yadyad dhyat urugaya vibhavayanti tattad vapu praniyase sadanugrahaya. In whichever manifestation the Lord reveals himself, a devotee values that, a devotee relishes that. So when somebody says this is the essence, value that. That is the essence in their lived experience. Value that. But that doesn't have to be the essence in our lived experience. We have to find out what connects us with Krishna. And we relish and develop that connection with Krishna. Okay. Thank you. So let me speak a little bit about desires and doubts, and we will continue this tomorrow. Okay. Now, with respect to doubts, when we talk about doubts, it'll take some time, but I'll mention it very briefly over here. That sometimes we have a very simplistic idea of doubts. That it is as we grow spiritually, spiritual growth means that faith increases and doubts decrease. And within this metaphor, the idea is that doubts are like demons with this understanding, and the doubts have to be destroyed. And that is true, no doubt. But that is not the only understanding. In the Bhagavatam, in the third canto, when the description of the material elements is given, at that time, intelligence has 5 characteristics. And the first characteristic of intelligence is doubt. Ata samshayo viparyasa. That what it means is that it is the only the intelligent people can have doubts. That people who lack intelligence, they will just believe what they are told. They will just accept whatever they are told or whatever they see. So spiritual life, the foundation of spiritual life is doubt. Doubt about what? Doubt that maybe what I am seeing, things are not really like that. If we doubt in the reliability of, say, sense perception, that the world promises us so many pleasures, but maybe these pleasures are not all that great. The idea is that if we consider there is appearance, how things appear to be, and then beyond that, there is substance. So, intelligence is the capacity to go beyond appearance to substance. And the first feature of intelligence is, hey, doubt. This appearance is not what it seems to be. Now we could go into elaborate class about the 5 functions of intelligence. Ata samshayo viparyasa. First there is doubt. And viparyasa, hey, this is wrong. All that glitters is not gold, for example. Hey, this is glittering. Is this gold or is it not gold? Then I confirm this is not gold. And then we start going evaluating what is actually gold. So doubt is a sign of intelligence. And if we consider that aspect of doubt, then doubt as a feature of intelligence or a function of intelligence is something which should never be given up. Doubt, only the intelligent people can have doubts. So I'll talk about 3 broad steps to deal with the doubts. That will be art. A is appreciate. Appreciate the value of doubts. That doubt indicates the sign of intelligence. So, within this vision, if we consider spiritual growth to be like driving a car. Now, if we are driving, in that, we need 2 things. We need accelerator. In America, use the word the gas, isn't it? Now, in India, if you say press the gas, how do you press the gas? It makes no sense at all. So there is accelerator and there is brake. So basically, in parallel, in spiritual growth, faith is like the accelerator and doubt is like the brake. And rather than thinking that faith has to be accepted and doubt has to be given up, faith and doubt are both tools that we use in our spiritual journey. So we may be following someone and that person may be well situated. But tomorrow, maybe that person starts doing something questionable. If that happens, then we should not be following them blindly. We see in the Bhagavatam, Bali Maharaj had died. He had been killed by Indra. And Shukracharya revived him. Now, what greater miracle can somebody do? His guru had actually brought him back from the dead. And yet, when Shukracharya told him, don't surrender to Vishnu. This Brahmana is Vishnu, don't give charity to him. So, what did Bali Maharaj do? He doubted what Shukracharya is speaking. And that was a sign of his intelligence. So, appreciate the doubt. Now, here, when we are using generally when we use the word doubt, we use it in a negative sense. Doubts are to be given up. But the point is, If we consider doubt in the sense of evaluation, hesitation, analysis, does this really make sense? So that kind of evaluation is always to be done. It is never to be given up. That is something which we need to do throughout our life. Otherwise, we may become blind followers, and that's how cults grow, and it can lead to a lot of danger. Much of the deviation in religion comes from blind following. And it is not that now sometimes it happens that right from the beginning only a person is doing something wrong, and the people are following them are foolish. But initially the person may be well intentioned, or at least maybe well situated, and afterwards sometimes that person goes off track. So one has to have the capacity to evaluate. So doubt is a sign of intelligence. However, that doubt is it is one sign of intelligence. As that sense is good. But if it becomes the sole sign of intelligence, then it becomes a bad. Because that is like saying that I want to drive, and my only tool that I'll use for driving is the brake. Once we start doubting, okay, doubts are important, but sometime or the other, we have to go beyond doubting, isn't it? So that's why that we have, what is the acronym I was going to discuss? ART. So A is appreciate the importance of doubts, but R is refute. Refute or rebut. We need to deal with doubts in every aspect of life. The very nature of the human condition is that we have to leap into the unknown. When we choose a career, how much do we really know about the career? When we move from one part of the world to another part of the world, how much do we really know about that part? Say, when we get married, how much do we really know about our part? When we have children, how much can we predict what the nature of the children will be? So it's faith. So we have to step forward in faith. So if doubt is a brake is something which we use when required, but we also need to be able to release the brake. And this is where we need to, how do we refute this? By again, by guidance. By guidance could be by hearing from devotees, by asking questions, by getting those particular issues addressed. So now different people may have different kinds of doubts. And depending on what kind of doubt who has, we need to have that particular doubt addressed. And that's why like-minded association is very important. Somebody, like I said earlier, somebody that read a lot of philosophies before, and then they come to bhakti, and then somebody who is just for them their only experiences that is the material world and Krishna. And they say, why do you analyze so much? Why do you think so much? You're just a jnani. Well, no, if they have those questions need to be addressed. Now, one of the reasons why when Srila Prabhupada started the movement, he started an international society for Krishna consciousness. Now we have mostly Indians coming. It is quite difficult for us non-Indians to take up to bhakti. Now, that is a matter of concern because Prabhupada didn't want an Indian society for Krishna consciousness with international branches. Prabhupada wanted an international society. But the challenge is that for non-Indians, bhakti is very expensive. Not financially expensive, but culturally and conceptually expensive. That means if we face some distress in material life, if we experience some frustration, we experience the emptiness of material life, we will naturally gravitate towards the religion of our upbringing, the religion of our birth. But Western people, they might go toward the religion of their birth, which could be Judaism, which could be Christianity, whatever it is. So for them, the territory that they need to navigate is much, much more. So that's a whole different subject. But the point I'm making over here is that when people come from particular backgrounds, like if somebody has come from a Christian background, then they may have a particular set of questions which somebody who has come from a Vedic background may not have. Then those questions need to be addressed. So guidance here we need like-minded association, like-minded guidance. So that we need to, it is our responsibility. The devotee community is very large and there are different devotees with different natures. And if we have a particular need, if we have a particular set of questions, then it is our responsibility to find those devotees who will give us answers to those questions or whose answers will make sense to us. So, as many of you may pursue, I am a very analytical person. So, in the early stages of my bhakti, I had a lot of questions, and some senior devotees answered quite a few questions. After that, when I was asking more questions, one devotee told me, Chaitanya Charan, you have to remember that we are following Bhakti Marg, not Gyan Marg. Now, maybe he was well intentioned in saying that. So, but my conclusion was, my Prashna Marg is never going to come to you. I'm never going to ask any questions. So I asked some other devotee some questions, and that person had given a particular answer. And there is a strong critic inside me. So if I give an answer, I'll be evaluating my own answer, and I'll be trying to find holes in my answer. And sometimes some devotees, they're not very analytical. So if you try to point out flaws with their answers, they get very angry. So I was having a discussion with one devotee, and he said that he asked a question. I asked a question, and he gave an answer. Then I pointed out some issues with the answer. He tried to address those. Now I said, Prabhu, with all due respect. Whenever you say with all due respect, whatever is going to follow is not going to be very respectful. So I said, this still has issues. This answer doesn't make sense. And then that was the time he quoted this particular verse to me. Yasyadeve parabhaktir thadevi tatha guru. One who has implicit faith in Guru and Krishna. For them, all questions will be answered. When I heard that, he said, Chaitanya, you're going on a very dangerous path. If you keep having doubts like this, you're going to fall down. All that happened is that my estimation of that devotee fell down. Now, it is my intelligence that has brought me to Krishna. I'll talk about the importance of going beyond intelligence later on. But like I said, we have a conception of value. And if somebody tells us to give up our conception of value to come towards Krishna, then it's impossible for us to do that. If we start expecting that from others, they may do it for some time, but they will feel intellectually tortured. And they will not be able to sustain it for very long. So then fortunately by Krishna's mercy, so I talked with this old Sadhanath Maharaj, and he told me, you connect with these devotees. I asked some of my questions. Maharaj answered one or two questions, these kind of questions, if you have, you should talk with this devotee. And then there are devotees who are more analytically inclined, more academically inclined, as a whole universe. And then I started discussing with them, and then I got so many different perspectives. Now, this issue can be seen from this way, this issue can be seen from this way. So, there is a black and white conception. Okay. That this is the answer, and this is right, this is wrong. And when a child is growing up, black and white is the first stage. And if you start a newborn child who's growing up, you start telling, these are all shades of gray. Everything will become too confusing for the child. So initially there has to be black and white. But eventually there have to be an explanation of there are shades of gray in between this. There are different kinds of answers, and there are different ways of understanding things. So sometimes we need like-minded devotees who will help us address our doubts. And for some people, if somebody is going to go into, for example, somebody has a very high visual intelligence. I mean, they are into fashion and aesthetics and decoration. For them, shades of gray are important. Like, no, this is red. No, this is not red. This is this color. This is maroon. We may not even heard the names of those colors. There are so many different colors are there. So those differences may not be of any importance to some people, and they may be of great importance to some people. Like, sometimes what happens is we have doubts about something, and then say we are disturbed because of that particular issue, and then somebody else we present that to them, and they are not disturbed, and we get even more disturbed because they are not disturbed. So somebody who has a very acute, say, aesthetic sense, fashion sense, they may say, if you're decorating the DCs, this color doesn't go well, this color, this flower doesn't go. You say, why are you so criticizing so much? It is so beautiful. If you think this is beautiful, you are really a fool. It's like that. So each of us, we need like-minded association. So some people, they may need these nuances and shades of gray. So for example, if somebody is in management, and now if somebody is in management, then there are certain managerial practices which they may wonder, why are things being done like this? Why are things being done like this? And we may have questions. Say, if we have a managerial background, so if we come to the temple, we will see how are things being managed? Why is this not being done? Why is this not being done this way? And if somebody says, why are you finding faults? You're finding faults, you're committing Vaishnava Aparadha. You'll fall down. He says, no, it's not that I am deliberately finding faults. That's just the intelligence I have. And with that intelligence, I'm going to see these things. So then we need somebody who has that kind of managerial experience. And also they have an analytical ability. They will explain, okay, managers, they are taking decisions based on not just this factor, they have to consider this factor also, this factor also, this factor also. And based on that, they're taking a decision. So like-minded, when we have doubts, doubts may not just be about philosophy. They might be about logistics. They might be about this. They might be about that. They may be about so many things. So whatever doubts we have, we need like-minded association to help us address those doubts. So that's the second part, refute. And the last part is, what is the acronym? T. So RT is transcend. There are some doubts which may never get addressed. And we need to recognize that sometimes we need to connect with Krishna in spite of our doubts. That, so we could say that among doubts, there are head doubts and there are heart doubts. Heart doubts means they are about like core principles, that Krishna is God, that that bhakti is the best way to connect with Krishna. These are core principles of bhakti. And if we have doubts about these, then absolutely we need to have them addressed. But with respect to head doubts, there could be many terms. There could be, for example, cosmology. How do we make sense of the Bhagavatam's cosmology in terms of modern cosmology? Or if you are from a scientific background, especially if you have background of biology, evolution. Now, if we have studied evolution, we may find that there is so much evidence in support of evolution. Now that can be addressed. But the point is that there are these head doubts. And we need, these head doubts may never be resolved in their specifics. And why may that happen? Because the material world is also complicated. And because it is complicated, how exactly the material world functions, that may also not be so easily resolvable for us. So when we transcend, these doubts are there, but they don't matter so much for you. So some people, they may operate, their whole foundation of bhakti may be based on certainty. Now, this is the right answer. If, for example, recently there was this, maybe a few months ago, there was India's Chandrayaan mission. And then now there is a narrative within our movement that Prabhupada made certain kind of statements about the moon mission. Now, I had made a video about it that Prabhupada has made 6 different kinds of statements. Now, one kind of statement, that we never went to the moon. That was the only statement that was just generally presented. Yes, Prabhupada made that statement many times. But Prabhupada made other kinds of statements also. Okay, maybe they went to the moon, but what did they go and get over there? Even if we have gone to the moon, if I put so much effort in going towards the moon, let us put some effort for raising our consciousness also. So the point is that there are different kinds of statements. And something which may seem to be non-negotiable for one devotee may actually not be non-negotiable. It may be negotiable. So can somebody, if somebody is, somebody says, okay, maybe I think we went to the moon. Okay, if we are going to leave our body, at that time is when we are going to back to what, Krishna? Do you believe the moon conspiracy theory or do you believe the moon mission? Is Krishna going to ask us that? No, that is irrelevant. The Krishna is going to see how much we love him. So basically, and I'll talk about this, I'll make 2 points over here, then we'll conclude. That devotion, there are 2 ways in which devotion can be seen. One is devotion means faith, and faith means certainty. If I have faith and I'm certain, Prabhupada said like this, Shastra said like this is true. Okay, Prabhupada may have said that, but Prabhupada has said other statements also. Why are you not considering others? No, such people, certainty is the basis of their bhakti. If anything is uncertain, well, what is the basis of their bhakti then? Everything has to be certain. Everything has to be, or not everything, many things have to be just black and white. But devotion can go in other sense also. Devotion means humility. And humility means comfort with uncertainty. If I'm humble, that means I'm a finite being. And there is so much that I do not know. I may have studied Prabhupada's works, but do I really understand Prabhupada's mind and heart? No, I understand some things about it. Some things I understand, some things I don't understand. Now, this idea of comfort with uncertainty is enshrined in the very name of our philosophy, Achintya Bheda Bhed. So Achintya is inconceivable. Now that doesn't mean we just dodge all difficult questions by calling them inconceivable. That is not the point over here. Now there are certain non-negotiable truths. If somebody says, I am comfortable with the uncertainty whether Krishna is God or not, well, then it's very difficult to be Krishna conscious. You may become God conscious in general. Nowadays, there is this whole genre of spirituality which is very self-centered. Spirituality is about self-awareness, self-understanding, self-expression. It's all about the self. It is not really transcendental spirituality. It is mostly therapeutic spirituality. It is okay. At least people think of something spiritual, but that will not make people actually Krishna conscious. It may make them receptive, but if they become too attached to it, it's going to be a problem. So my point is that when we are talking about spirituality, it is not that there is everything is negotiable, but there are many issues for which some people may operate with certainty and some people may operate with uncertainty. So questions like, say, fall of the jiva. Now, some devotees may be very, the jiva fell from the spiritual. Some others say that jiva may not have fallen from the spiritual. Then nobody falls from the spiritual world. Well, this question, it is, at least in my understanding, it is like an intellectual banana peel. What happens? As soon as you step on a banana peel, so you fall down. So this is the question which, okay, some devotees may think we never fell, some devotees may think we fell, some devotees may think that I don't want to think about it. It's okay. Prabhupada has made different kinds of statements. And whichever statement a devotee is comfortable with, he can accept that. So basically, when we have to deal with doubts, sometimes we may have to transcend the doubts. That, okay, this is not very important. And what matters to me is my connection with Krishna. That is the most important thing for me. So for devotees, Now, which issues, which doubts need to be refuted and which doubts need to be transcended? That may vary. It's like, again, going back to that ladder of artha to anartha, higher and higher artha. For some people, okay, this is not important, just step up and go to something higher. No, okay, my I know devotees who work in their primary field is in evolution. Their study is evolution itself. Then I asked, then when I talk with them, they said, we went through our own complexity, but now, it's just that is my profession. That is evolution is over here. My Krishna Bhakti is over here. If I have an interest, then I may work and try to see how to reconcile it. But that is not my interest. That is just my job. I'll do my job and I focus on my bhakti. Now, is that the best way? Some people may say they are compromising. But some people may say that's just not relevant for me. And that's fine. Because, as I said, the important thing is Krishna consciousness. Now, for somebody, they may make their life's mission countering evolution. And they may come up with Prabhupada's code. This is this code, this code. So that's fine. So in bhakti, there is room for both certainty and uncertainty. And there is flexibility about what will be certainty for some people and what will be in the domain of uncertainty for some people. So sometimes when we are moving forward in bhakti, it is important that our practice of bhakti has to work with our mind and intelligence. So that means, what do I mean by here? This is the last point I said I'll make. Intelligence has these two aspects. One is to comprehend. I want to make sense of this. I need to make sense of this. But then another aspect of intelligence is also to acknowledge we comprehend the concept. The other is that we, in one sense, comprehend the incomprehensibility of some concepts. That maybe this is just not comprehensible. And this is not an intellectual cop-out. Even in the field of science, that there are different models of the universe. There's quantum physics and there's relativity. And the two are very difficult to reconcile. So basically, even physics accepts that there is no one model that describes reality completely. And what do physicists do? Whichever model works, they use it. The quantum physics just doesn't make sense if you try to analyze it. The famous quote by a physicist. When student asks him, sir, how do we make sense of it? He says, stop thinking, start calculating. So basically, you can't visualize the model of the universe with quantum physics, but if you do the mathematics, it works. It works fantastically. So the point I'm making is this idea of achinta, this idea of incomprehensibility. These physicists, they are not sentimental people. They are not irrational people. They are rational, but even within their rational quest, they have encountered the limits of rationality. Jiva Goswami says one characteristic of intelligence is to acknowledge that the infinite will be beyond our intelligence. If we think that the infinite has to be within our intelligence, or the supreme has to be within our intelligence, then basically we are claiming that our intelligence is supreme, not that the supreme is supreme. So the supreme will always have some achintya features, something beyond the intelligence. That's why sometimes we may just, okay, this doubt is here, and maybe in future I might be able to address this doubt. Maybe I get some answers. Maybe I talk with some devotees, but I'm connecting with Krishna. I'm experiencing something higher. My life is being transformed, and this particular issue does not matter for me. So we need to transcend, and that's how we deal with our doubts. So by going beyond them. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. So we are discussing probably the topic of from anartha nivritti to artha pravritti. So it was an elaborate topic. We discussed broadly 5 points today. The first was we discussed the concept of anartha, Anartha means that which has no value. Anartha can means value, wealth. What are the four meanings we discussed? Value, wealth, purpose, meaning. So that is actually artha. So based on our what we think of as artha, we can have anartha is that which is opposite to that. So essentially, anartha is what? Misperception of value. So ultimately, this means that we perceive something to be of no value to be of high value or lesser value to be of greater value. And that ultimately means that we perceive Krishna to be less than Krishnetara. Hmm. That is anartha. Hmm. And then when we talk about dealing with anarthas, that essentially means purification. So purification essentially means what we think is valuable and what is valuable and what feels valuable. They start becoming more and more intersecting. And the impurity means what feels valuable becomes very different from what is valuable. And the journey of purification may often be incremental. There can be a progression of artha which ultimately leads to paramartha. And the paramartha is Krishna. So I talked here about 326 in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, don't try to get people to jump up over here, they will just go down. Help people take incremental steps forward from where they are. So essentially, when we are trying to communicate to somebody our conception of value and their conception of value, there needs to be some intersection. So the teachers and the students conception of value needs to intersect. That's how that person will rise upwards. Then I discussed about the two main obstacles with respect to we need to purification with respect to doubts and desires. So desires are associated with our mind and doubts are associated with our intelligence. So we focused on the doubts today. So first was what was the acronym we discussed with respect to doubt? Art. So A was what?
Acceptance. Appreciate.
No, not just accept, appreciate. Appreciate what? That doubt is doubting. It's a sign of intelligence. It is doubt. It is because of the intelligence that when we are looking at things, say there is appearance and then there is substance. So that what things that they don't seem to be as they are. So we appreciate the importance of doubt. So within this vision, doubt and faith, they are both tools. And what is the metaphor for these tools? Yes, it's like a driving. Doubt is like the brakes and faith is like the accelerator. So we appreciate the importance of doubting. Then after that, R was refute. That means now, okay, while doubt is important, doubt is not the sole sign of intelligence. Because then that will be like if you don't refute doubts, then it's like you're only using the brake for driving. You won't move forward. So refute. Then we discussed we need like-minded association, like-minded guidance specifically. So depending on our particular background, it may be rational, it may be scientific, it may be managerial, it may be aesthetic, whatever it is, we may have certain questions and certain reservations. So we need to find like-minded association by which our questions can be answered in a way that makes sense to us. So with like-minded association, we refute the doubt. So here, the conception is that basically what we say as faith increases, doubts disappear. This is the conception where doubts are like demons and we destroy those doubts. But then T was what? Transcend. Okay, good. So transcend means that sometimes we may not be able to refute the doubts. Or sometimes, so we understand that those doubts, they become less relevant. They don't matter too much. So they don't matter so much for us. So Krishna matters much more for us. So basically, the resolution of doubts can happen through as our devotion increases. One way is that our faith increases and we have certainty through the increase in faith. But the other way could be that. So this is basically the pathway of refuting. We refute our doubts. But devotion could also mean humility, and humility can mean comfort with uncertainty. Okay, this particular question, it doesn't matter to me so much. So we go here and we transcend the doubt. Because this is not what is really important. What is important is my connection with Krishna. It is my experience of Krishna. And that way, each one of us can go beyond the limiting power of those doubts, and we can connect with Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, we have any doubts? Maybe we'll take a few questions. Don't want to go too long. Those are not asked. Yes, please. Yeah, Mike.
Extremely grateful for the most analytical topic that you discussed today. So, in this stages where we're refuting and the transcending, so the primary thing, I'm not that analytical person, interested to know more about this. But most important thing is the barometer is whether I'm connecting to Krishna by having this. If that's the stopping, okay, this is not going, so it is taking away from Krishna by doubting or by doing this. So that point where we should stop, because it is beyond my capacity to understand. So
Okay, the two different. So when do we try to refute? When do we try to transcend? Basically, it depends on how important it is for us. And so sometimes some questions we just need the answer. Without that, you cannot move forward. Then we may try to search in the devotee community and find out who can give us those answers, connect with those devotees. And sometimes we may have to have multiple iterations. And those devotees, see, for most devotees, philosophy is just a tool for preaching. Okay, I just need some points where I can speak, I can inspire others, I can make others into devotees. For some people, philosophy is a means for understanding. And those are very few people. So for those who are primarily preachers, see, preachers and philosophers are two different categories. There will be some overlapping, but for preachers, they are generally reaching to the mass. And okay, these are the set of points. Address this question and get answer. So sometimes we may have certain doubts which can be addressed by preachers, but we may have certain doubts which have to be addressed by philosophers. So those devotees who are very philosophically inclined, we need to find those devotees and talk with them. And sometimes what may happen is that what answers they give, those answers may not satisfy us. But what may happen is the fact that there are multiple ways of looking at it. Okay, so we may realize that I can live with this. I can live with the search. I'll keep exploring. So basically, we have to see how much it is important for us. As you said, how much is it stopping me from moving toward Krishna? And how can I address that blockage on the path to Krishna? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I have a few books here. So this is my latest book, Living the Ramayana. So many incidents from the Ramayana are addressed, and practical life lessons are given from here. Then these are 666 quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. Each quote is inspired by one words from. When someone is hurting, focus not on what their past karma is, focus on what our present dharma is. So, that tolerance means to accept, to respect others' right to be wrong. Even when they are wrong in their opinion about us. Hold our plans lightly, hold our Lord tightly. Those who can't face books seek shelter in Facebook. So each of these is inspired by one verse from the Bhagavad Gita. If you Google this, you'll find also some article in the Bhagavad Gita which explains this. And then there are a couple of other books on the Bhagavad Gita itself. This is inspired by Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary, that rational approach to the Bhagavad Gita. So the questions that an analytical mind might get by studying the Bhagavad Gita, that's addressed in Bhagavad Gita Insights. And this is relishing Bhagavad Gita. This is inspired by the mood of Chakravarti Par. It's more about how the Bhagavad Gita is not just a book of philosophy, but it's a book of relationship. How the Krishna-Arjuna relationship is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita, and how by extension that can inspire us to develop our relationship with Krishna. So both of these are about 100 articles. Each article is 2 pages with some diagrams and quotes explaining. These are based on different verses from the Bhagavad Gita. These books are available, and if you want, I'll be available here to sign the books or to address some further questions also. So I have not brought that here. Yes.
Total. I don't know the number. But we have
Okay, so how much you have a question? Okay, Ramayana, the calendar is a new calendar. This is a different calendar. So the Ramayana book is new. The Gita Insights and Gita Relation Gita I had brought last time. But Ramayana is a new book. This is different from my earlier book on the Ramayana. Wisdom from Ramayana is a different book. That one. Thank you. Yes, true. Yeah.
the mic. Turn it on.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you so much for a very insightful session. My question is on this point of doubt and how it is actually healthy in progressing and not just blindly following. My question is, how do we know that the doubt that we have is genuinely helping us progress and not just based on our personal anarthas or our personal shortcomings in reading a particular situation or a scenario, and that it is genuinely helping us move forward and we are not just stuck in the circle of. You kind of addressed it about how we can't progress by just holding the brakes, but at the same time, how to know that the doubt is genuine?
Well, it's an interesting question. Is a doubt genuine? Can there be a fake doubt? Okay. So basically, I would say that bhakti is not based on denying our present experience. So, for example, when you talk about the concept of vibhuti, so Krishna says everything attractive in this world manifests a spark of his splendor. So the idea is that there are good-looking people in the world, there are attractive objects in this world, there are so many enjoyable things in the world. Bhakti is not about denying that, but we are saying that yes, this like beauty, we can say it's all false, it's skin deep, and all that. That's true at one level, but another level, beauty is one of the 6 opulences of Krishna. That beauty has come because of the punya of the past lives. It's like beauty is a result of some past punya. Wealth is a result of past punya. Learning is also a result of past punya. So the point is that if we have doubts, then I'm giving this as an example to say that our lived experience is something that we have right now. And if we find something attractive, we can't just wish away that attractiveness. We say, okay, I may not pursue that. But some people may be very impressed by somebody who's very intellectual. Some people may not be that impressed. Because if they are analytical, they will try to be analytical. Now, sometimes an atheist might be analytical also. So now, should we be impressed by that atheist? Well, not by their atheism, but we can appreciate the analysis. Prabhupada said that we can look for gold even in a filthy place. So my point is that if some doubt is troubling us, That's our lived experience. And then we have to address it. So the important thing is that we should not stop our bhakti practices because of those doubts. So, okay, we try to find out means when I can address somebody, when I can, maybe I need to read this particular book to address this. Maybe I need to study this subject. Maybe I need to attend this course. Maybe I need to talk with these devotees. So, we may need to do what is required for us to address those doubts. But we don't let that doubt monopolize our spirituality or become a complete roadblock. So, we decide how much time we want to spend on it and give that much time to it and see how it gets addressed. Okay, thank you. Maybe one or two. Okay. But how can we have the questions tomorrow? Because tomorrow there will be a different audience, isn't it? Yeah, we want to finish. Any burning question?
70% the same.
Okay, any burning question? The burning question is, when will the class end? Okay, last question. We'll stop with this.
Happy that
Mike.
art as a mechanism to pass through the doubting mind, which can help to go my sadhana, continue my sadhana even though I have doubts. But the steps
Okay.
of appreciating it, review and transit take some time.
Okay.
And how to make the mind not to irritate. So it happens eventually that I lose interest or I don't get an answer, so I move on. But how to reduce that time to the lowest and focus on the family.
So basically, we have to choose our focus. There can be evidence that supports and evidence that opposes. So the material world is made in such a way that if somebody wants to be an atheist, Krishna will provide evidence for the person to be an atheist also. Like we may talk about how clouds. Cloud is like a massive airborne water tank which is made of aircraft proof technology. Nobody has made something like that. And that's miraculously how rains provide water to all life form. It's amazing. Now somebody may ask, okay, if clouds are made by God to provide rains on land, then why does it rain on the oceans? Well, why does it rain on the oceans? So that you can ask those questions and stay atheistic. No, it's nityo nityanam chetnas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. The Lord will maintain everyone. So the Lord will maintain even atheists. If somebody wants to be an atheist, now you can look at, okay, you can look at the fact that the rain falls on the water, oceans. But it's like you have a 100-story house and one room in that 100-room built mansion. One room is unclean. You can look at that one room is unclean and say that, oh, there's no caretaker for this house. Or we can look at the 99 rooms that are clean because there's a caretaker. Maybe there's some reason why this room is not clean. I'll need to find that out. So in general, each one of us needs to choose the evidence. So we will, even in our practice of bhakti, there will be, philosophically speaking, or in terms of our practical experience, some things which will support our faith, and some things which will give us doubts. Now I was in university, I was doing a series of talks over there. So one American boy came to me and he said that, now I am presently an atheist. Okay. I said, what do you mean presently? He said, okay, I don't believe in God now. Okay. So I said, he started talking and he said that he was born and brought up in a very rigid Orthodox Christian family. And he is, when he was about 5 or 6, both his parents passed away in an accident. Then he went to the foster care. And then he was in a good university. So I said, how did you come to this university? That's quite impressive. He said, when I was 12, I was adopted by a very good family and they have taken care of me. And he said that's when my parents used to go to church, still they were killed. He said, that time I lost my faith in God. I said, okay. His God is if God exists, he's so unfair. Better I won't believe such a God. So I said, then what age were you adopted? He said, around 12. I asked him that, what is the likelihood, what is the probability of a child, of a person getting adopted at the age of 12? He says it's extremely low. And he says, I was very lucky. Because most parents, most to be parents, they want to adopt a child who is much smaller, but they can shape the values. They also want to have the joy of raising a small child. Various things are there. Generally, uh, teenagers are very rarely adopted. So I said, you are saying God is not fair to you, or God was not fair to you. But are you being fair to God? I said, what do you mean? He said, when your parents passed away, you're holding God responsible for that. But when you are adopted, you're saying it is luck. So either be consistent and say that was bad luck and this was good luck. Or you say that, okay, that was, if God did that, then God also did this in your life. So basically, we need to, it is for us. We can look in our life at points when some bad things happen to us, and sometimes they may have happened in spite of our devotion. We feel that is evidence that opposes our spirituality. So we can look at that and we can let our faith become weak, our doubt can increase. Or we can look at the times when something extraordinary has happened in our life. So we can look at the times when we chant and we just feel bored or tired, and we think, what is the use of this chanting? Or we can look at those, focus on those times when we have chanted, done kirtan, come to the temple, and have experienced some peace, some joy, something higher. And okay, these are the experiences that are going to drive me forward. So in that sense, when we are whether appreciating, refuting, or transcending, it is for us to choose which evidence we are going to focus on. So that's why, no, this is a big point, but quickly I mention. Faith is both a choice and a gift. Faith is a gift means that sometimes I have this conviction. I don't need to do any reasoning for this. It is just there. So that kind of faith, innate faith, that is a gift. That comes from Krishna to us. But faith is also a choice. Choice means that we choose to focus on the evidence that will strengthen our faith. And the evidence that challenges our faith, we put it aside. Okay, I don't know how to process it right now. But that is not the most important thing in my life. So we will see that some aspects of faith are a gift. It's like some of us may not be able to, if we meet somebody who is a dedicated atheist. There are actually atheists and there are antitheists. Antitheists are basically preachers of atheism. Now, sometimes they may make such arguments, we may not be able to refute their arguments. But even if we can't refute their arguments, that won't disturb our faith in the existence of God. Because we have had some experiences by which that conviction is there. So it's almost like when we talk about that faith as a conviction, which is beyond the state of anartha, nishtita bhajana kriya, we come to that. It's like that faith exists independent of our reasoning. Faith exists in spite of our reason. Not it is unreasonable, but it does not require the support of reason. So for some faith, it requires the support of our reason. But some faith goes beyond the support of our reasoning. Okay? Well, so if that's a faith does not require the support of reasoning, is it blind faith? Well, no. Blind faith is something very different. I would say that there is rational, there is irrational, and there is trans-rational. By trans-rational means I understand that there are some things which are beyond the domain of rationality. There are many things which I can explain with reasoning, but there are some things which I may not be able to explain. So that's why in our tradition also there's a difference between Madhyamadhikari and Uttamadhikari. So the terms Madhyama and Uttama, when they are used, not all acharyas use them in the same sense. Like a Madhyamadhikari defined in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu may be different from the Madhyamadikari defined in the Updeshamrut, may be different from the Madhyamadikari defined in Krishna Samhita by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There are levels, but one way of understanding is Krishna. He says that the Madhyamadikari may not always be able to answer questions, but their faith is not disturbed. The Uttamadikari, their faith is not disturbed, and they are also able to answer questions. So it's not irrational. It's that there is rationality is there for many aspects, but for that particular thing, rationality is not required. The rationality can be used, but it is not required. It's like, say, if somebody has been treated by a particular doctor and they have been cured, and after that somebody comes and argues, this whole medicine was a quack, this doctor is a quack, this medicine is bogus. Well, and they may say this is the evidence, this is the survey, this is the chemical, but this chemical doesn't do this and they do that. Now we may not know how to respond to that, but it is like you may make all the argument the medicine is a quack, but the patient is cured. Isn't it? So if the patient has been cured by a particular treatment, then the patient doesn't need some research from some medical journals to support the authenticity of the treatment. That does not mean the patient is being irrational. The patient's experience has gone beyond the domain of rationality. So this is more transrational, means it's become more experiential. And that's why in the domain of transcendence, Anubhav is considered to be the highest praman. Pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam. That it is considered, Sanatana Goswami in that described that Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that Gopakumar's experience is considered the highest praman in the spiritual journey. Okay? So thank you very much. Srimad Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaura Premanande.
Ten, 7, 15. This is 15, 15, 7, 10, 10, and all four is 35%. Sure. He will help. He will help. You gave him a You have the light. Devotees, if you like to get signatures on Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, you can get books from Brahmatita Prabhu and come forward with. Thank you for that. I will also say. Brahmatita Prabhu will help. Scan if you takes you. Well, you send it to me and also anyone has a pen? Yes. The style of is very nice. Right? Not in the box. That's putting an imprint on our. It answered a lot of my questions. As you presented, a lot of questions. This was taking the calendar 7.
I'll sign one. How are you? Yes, we met last time. Who's going to arrive? SHRI or SRI?
Open the camera.
HARI. How are you people?
Yes, doing well. You're actually
Where?
the sense that to solve your pain point, that you went with some devotees and whatever you can answer, trying to create a new knowledge base, right, for all these articles. It could be reincarnation, there it could be more database. So we're trying to find out different attributes. More specifically, trying to find out different attributes in the research. Like, how are the modern activities? What is the adverse effect as a result of each one of those, and what is the take as to be someone arena?
So good important
Yeah. And then we are also one of the things we're looking at also is consciousness studies, and first thing I asked them to read is reincarnation.
In message you can have like more about it.
No, yes, the goal is to have more or less like a debate kind of an experience within the temple, like more like a content instead of just a lecture, so that we can attract a more educational type of audience, right? Instead of more like some Nishchitam, many people are not interested in that type of approach. And this epistemological.
About some other time.
Sure.
Message me. I'd love to talk more about. Sure. All the best. Good work. Very important initiative.
This is only one.
Your name? Oh, yes, sorry. Mohan. So you are how much? 21 years old? 9, huh? Okay. What do you like in Bhakti, Mohan?
Prasad.
Thank you for being so refreshingly honest. Hare Krishna. What is your name?
Anangamai Chitra Devi Dasi.
Oh, Anangamai Chitradevi. You're hearing quite attentively. You want to understand?
Yes, Prabhu. You explained, I love the drawings, Prabhu. It was very descriptive and it made it easy to understand and process.
Happy to your service. Yes, in college or school now?
School, Prabhu, 9th grade.
9th grade, okay. Oh. So it's not difficult to understand. It's nice to know. You're quite intellectually cautious. Good.
Please bless me, Prabhu.
Take care. What is your name? Risha. Risha means joyous. Same. RI or HRI?
HRI,
Okay. So Risha can also mean Harsha. So it is joyful also. Risha. Of course, sages are joyful. So, how are you keeping?
Very good. Morning class obviously morning progress. I was meditating from this morning that meditate on that. Aspiration, satisfaction. I get satisfaction zone. She's an aspiration zone. When you said both should be there, we are like exactly we have to interchange. Thank you so much. It was really said to the person.
So when you say doubts, it means inquiries and the doubt kind of doubts. Both.
Yeah, see, Prashna and Samshaya are two different things. And if you see in our tradition, Prashna is very much praised. Right? Munaya sadhu pushtoham. You ask questions for the welfare of all of humanity. So doubts will inquire. So what is the exact separating line? It's not a very clear separating line. So generally, if something is completely blocking us from moving towards Krishna, then that's called as a doubt. But you could say curiosity. Curiosity is a good thing. Good thing. It's very positive.
Inquiry.
Inquiry,
But
jigyasa.
doubt, when you have a doubt, only thing is you could become your intention could not be absolutely pure, right? I mean, and that's also okay because
It's okay,
usually,
yeah.
sure, because in corporate meta, like in organized analysis, they say, like in India, in Indian English, we always say, hey, I have a doubt here. Like, or when you're talking to clients or something, you say, I have a doubt. And but Americans, they take it negatively because doubt means it's a negative term for them. You say, I have a question. You
Yeah.
don't say, I have a doubt.
That's a good point.
Right?
True.
So,
I also
like,
noticed the difference in American English. and
yes,
Indian English.
Prabhu. In American English, they never use the doubt unless and until it's like a doubt. Really, I'm doubting something or someone. Whereas in India, we use that doubt for both. Ma'am, I have a doubt. That's what we ask, right, in school. So, just like trying to clarify that. But it
Yes.
means.
Yes. Thank you. Good observation. Hare Krishna.
Maybe the back or the front.
Yes, I got it.
Samuel and Shivan.
Sorry?
Sam and Shivan.
Shivanjali.
Shivan.
Okay.
Shamala, actually, yeah, Shamala.
Samuel.
Thank you for coming.
Was the talk understandable for you?
Oh,
Sorry, Shamala?
Shamala Priti Devi.
Shamala.
I really like that you add a lot of notes, virtual notes.
Yeah, the visual
Helpful.
representation is very fun. My notes are filled with drawings and
Oh, really? So Preeti is double E or I?
ITI.